A disaster in 3 parts. Let's start from the beginning. I bought a van. Yes, that's it. Back in the yard. That's another story. That'll be part 3. First, part 1. I buy the van. I take it to a mechanic that my kids have been going to for years. And what happens? He decides to just pick and choose spark plugs from around his establishment. And he puts one that's way too long in and damages 2 cylinders. What happens next? I lose my mind, and I decide not to pursue legal action because it would be very hard to prove. It's an older van, but it definitely was running one way, but it would be the say-so of my children. And after I drove away, it was running a whole different way. And he said I should have taken it back, but I felt like, why would I take my prized possession, the only thing I've got really left in this world, back to a jackass? So I didn't. So then was the search for new mechanics. And we did find an ass hat. And at first, it seemed good. He found me an engine. I was a little hesitant. That engine got sold. My vehicle sat for 2 weeks in his yard. Meanwhile, Michael and Denny's cars go down almost simultaneously. Denny had 2 CV axles that are bad. As you can see, they're not here right now. Well, first it was something else with Denny Jr.'s vehicle. He needed it was shaking badly, and so they assumed it was an engine mount, which was bad, and that got changed. And Asshat, the new mechanic, got grease all over Denny's car, proceeded to wash it out with a hose. Yes, you're hearing me right. A hose. On the seats. On the floors. Started scrubbing and damaged knobs on his air conditioning unit. So I'm outraged, and my van is already at his establishment waiting for another engine. And I flip out on him. And he apologizes emphatically, says it was his friend, and he thought he could, trust him to do that, and what can I do to make this right? And so I said, you better do something. You better replace that console top that second ass hat, ripped. The console cover? Yeah, he scrubbed so hard he ripped the fiber right off of it, and scrubbed the knobs so hard he took the paint off the knobs. My son Dennis keeps his vehicle in mint condition. 2018, you'd never know it. So he said, I'll put the mount in for free. I'm very sorry. I can't apologize more. I'll do your engine for half price. Well, that was tempting, and maybe it was a mistake, and maybe it was his friend. So I said, he was very apologetic. He admitted his wrongdoing, and he also took my son's car, though, to drop his girlfriend off with her laundry, and I think he was driving it around because he doesn't have a car. I didn't know this. There were so many cars in his yard, and I figured one of them had to be his, right? No. So, Michael needs a radiator. And he actually put the radiator in very well. There's never been a problem since, Michael's vehicle. But then something else went. It was a belt and a harmonic balancer. And while he had all that off, he decided he would replace the water pump. So Michael started taking the car apart himself, and Michael hadn't worked in 2 weeks, and it was becoming a real financial disaster, and I was helping out financially because they're my children, and I'm not going to let them go without food and necessities like that. So helped him, in any way I can, because he's not touching the money from the silver business. That stays in the silver business, and that's that. He doesn't want that business to fail. Cars for Uber, but that is where he makes his money. So, I might not have to do this in 3 parts. Maybe I'll do it in 2 parts. Where am I at? 5 minutes. Yeah, so the radiator got done. It was fine. So we figured we can call Jason, have him come here, and he can help him with the harmonic balancer, because it wouldn't come off. It took Jason, the asshat, 3 hours just to get the harmonic balancer off. It was stuck on that tight. They were getting ready to go. I rent something to help take it apart. Well, what happened then was the real disaster. And I'll tell you that in part 2. I need views, so, And besides, you guys don't watch but 8 minutes at a time, well, the majority. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. The rest of the story is yet to come. One disaster after another.